Building your own setting for D&D can be both fun and daunting, as you try to make a game that feels real and alive. While most people tend to focus on the big picture of their world, things like continents, religions, and governments, I found that some of the things my players actually interact with and latch onto the most are the smaller details. So here are some little things you can add to your world building to make it even better. One of the biggest cultural touchstones that you'll rarely see in D&D is sports. Yeah, there might be a fighting pit or two, but across basically every culture and nation, there are so many different competitions and events where athletes can win glory and gold. So why shouldn't there be that same variety in your D&D world? If you're looking for some inspiration, I made a whole video on Oddball, a sport made just for D&D, but you don't need anything complicated. Arm wrestling at the local tavern, an annual hunt for some magical creature, axe beak racing at the nearby track. Whether you want to go big or keep it small, adding in some competitions is a great way to make your world feel real. But not everyone loves sports. Some people prefer the finer things in life, the fine arts, that is. Between music, movies, books, and a whole host of creative works, we have so many ways to express ourselves, tell stories, and reflect on the world around us. And while you don't need to know every masterpiece ever painted in the Forgotten Realms, you can use the arts as a way to give your players a glimpse into the history and collective feeling of your world. Statues that depict renowned figures, plays that take place in bygone eras, a collection of paintings that show far-flung locales and natural wonders. All of this enriches your setting and makes it seem like people actually live there and have for a long time. And of course, if your players aren't the type to go to an art gallery, these venues make great backdrops for a quest, investigating a library for ancient tomes, or stealing some priceless artifact from a museum are classic adventure hooks. Maybe they'll learn something while having fun, but even if they don't, your world will feel just a little more lived in. Despite how many taverns your players will end up in, one often neglected aspect of world building is food and drink. Yes, every tavern serving ale is fine, but what people eat can tell you a lot about where they live. A fishing village that constantly has fresh seafood will feel very distinct from the underground dwarven stronghold where bats and cave lizards are on the menu. And you can even use it as a way to build intrigue into other parts of your setting. If the party ever managed to get invited to a fancy dinner, they could be drinking wine that's magically enchanted by elves in a distant land, or steak from aurochs herded in far-off plains. You don't need every meal to be accompanied by 10 pages of lore, but letting your cultures express themselves with food will make your setting more memorable. If I fly to Japan right now, I might struggle to find my way around, order dinner, or book a hotel, because this may come as a shock, but I don't speak Japanese. Language barriers can be a big obstacle in the real world, but thanks to common being widespread, it's not something that comes up often during D&D, even when your players are supposedly in cities dominated by elves or dwarves. Adding a bit of culture shock whenever your players head to distant lands or encounter an NPC from far away can be fun for them to navigate, especially if you have a player who knows that language. If your tiefling rogue picked gnomish for some reason, giving them a chance to take the lead when the party actually reaches a gnome city encourages them to roleplay more and be the party face for a bit. You don't want to go too crazy with this. The game will get boring very quickly if nobody understands them and every shopkeep just ignores their attempts to buy stuff, but having to navigate a language barrier will really cement the feeling that they're not in Kansas anymore. D&D usually involves fighting monsters and enemies that are not great. A lot of bad people live in the Forgotten Realms, yet when it comes to more rank-and-file criminal activity, most folks will toss in a thieves guild and call it a day. But in reality, there are tons of different syndicates and underground operations out there vying for power and money, so why should one guild have a monopoly on all the crime in your setting? Having a criminal underworld with different players and groups is a fun way to add some depth to your society. How do they work together and how do they clash? What sort of events might shake up their power structure? Do different organizations have a stronger hold in different places? Not only will this lead to plenty of potential plots, but it'll be interesting to see which of these under-the-table organizations your party gravitates towards or decides to take down a peg. People don't need much of a reason to party. If you look at the calendar, there are so many holidays throughout the year, some that are celebrated worldwide, others by a single community. All sorts of obscure things are honored. Talking Like a Pirate, the number pi, trees, even decade-old video game franchises that some of us love way too much. Happy and 7 Day. So your D&D world should also have plenty of festivals that your players can participate in. And how they celebrate can be just as varied as their reasons for doing so. Some holidays may involve a big feast, partying in the streets with games and ale. while others might be more somber, leading to candlelit vigils and offerings of remembrance. And some could be straight up weird, maybe to commemorate the death of a hero, everyone dresses as them for the day. Did I steal that from Wind Waker? Yes. And of course, a holiday is a great reason for your party to stay in town for a while and come across whatever plot-relevant stories you're cooking up there. The more you fill up the calendar, the more your players can engage with your world building. I hope these ideas have given you some inspiration for your own D&D settings. I'd love to hear the ways you've made your worlds feel unique in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leaving a like is always appreciated. If you want to see more, you should subscribe to the Bard's College. I make videos all about D&D, DMing, and everything in between, so stick around. But for now, good luck, and remember, crit your players.